Hello and welcome to another Solana tutorial. Today we're gonna talk about DAS. Das was? DAS Digital Asset Standard. Specifically the DAS API by Helius, which allows devs to easily and quickly query information about Solana assets, aka tokens mostly. See, I would totally be wearing my Helius merch. Problem is, I don't have any. Mert, please fix this until next video. That's not the right color. It's my favorite color, but it's not the right color for this video. Anyway, let's focus on what's important. What the hell is the Digital Asset Standard and how does this API work? And maybe we even start with what's an indexer, just so you know what we're talking about here. All right, so let's bring back this web page. Let's bring back the content. I just removed this such that I have a nice background. Helius, the best Solana RPCs, according to Helius. But what's more important for us are the developer tools. Because we're devs. I mean, RPCs are also very important for devs, but only really when you get to the point of having an application in production. So I'm more interested in looking at the tooling that Helius provides. Webhooks, for instance, super nice. And today, DAS and compression. We have talked about the digital asset standard before in the video about compressed NFTs. And actually we have used it before, but today I really want to do a deep dive on the DAS API. I don't know, do you call it DAS? D-A-S? DAS API? DAS? No, that sounds weird. So Helius provides a lot of stuff and has a lot of clients. The interesting part for us is the docs. Go faster! Because here we will find the digital asset standard API docs. But maybe I want to start with a motivation on why we want to use this. Let's do that. A long time ago, I created an airdrop script. And the idea was that I send some tokens to all of the holders of one collection. And the way I had to do this, I did a get program accounts on the RPC. That, however, is a very resource intensive call to make, which is also the reason why public endpoints don't support this anymore. Because essentially what we did, we searched through all of the Metaplex token metadata accounts to match the one creator in the create array, which is highly inefficient. And that's just one thing. This script is so old. It used the Genesis Go RPC. Good old times where Genesis Go had a nice free RPC. You want to know who else has free RPCs right now? Helius does. Anyway, to get all NFTs from one collection, that was inefficient. What's also inefficient is to get all token accounts from one token holder. Did I do that somewhere here? No, pretty sure I also did that somewhere. My fee redeemer, for instance, there. When I want to find all the token accounts for one user, I have to say get token accounts by owner, which again is a thing on the RPC. It's an RPC request, which as the get program accounts is highly inefficient because there's no deterministic way to get those things. There is no deterministic way on Solana to find all token accounts for a user. It's just not set up that way. If you have the mint and the user, then yes, there's a deterministic way at least to derive the associated token account, and then you can check, does that exist? So if that's the challenge, that's easy, okay. But getting all token accounts, that's something that the RPC needs to support additionally, and then it's the RPC's job to go through all the token accounts, and ideally they have a mapping. But that gets me to the topic of indexers and why they're useful. So let me try and explain what an indexer is, or what indexing is, and what that's useful for. Let's stay with that example of we want to find out what are all the token accounts for a given wallet address. Without any index, just given the state of Solana, when we get the request, please give me all the token accounts for this user, what we need to do is look through all the token accounts and check if the owner field matches this user, and remember this one to return it in our response. So we gotta go through all of the token accounts and check the matching ones. the same as we did with the get program accounts for finding all the NFTs in a collection, going through all the metadata accounts and finding the ones where the collection matches. That's without the index. Now let's add an index, because let's say, okay, this is a use case that happens a lot and we don't want to always have to go through all of the accounts. So what do? We build ourselves an index. So you can think of that as a separate database or whatever. So in this example, we would go through all of our token accounts and then build some external data structure that contains the mapping of owner to token accounts. So we go through all of the token accounts and map them. Oh, this belongs to this one, this belongs to this one, this belongs to this one. And then we have this separate data structure that index. And then when we get the query of, hey, please give us all the token accounts for a given user, then I don't need to go through all the tokens account anymore. I can go to the index and check for this user. So that's what it was indexed by the user, by the owner. Those are all the token accounts, and I return them. And that way we can much quicker serve a request for give me all the token accounts of a given user. And I don't actually know if RPCs do that for the owners, and that's why they support the get token accounts by owner. Not sure if they do. They might not. I don't know the implementation of that, but I don't think that they do. I think that's the same as with the get program accounts. That is just a horrible thing to call. So let's not call that. But I hope that you now kind of get the idea of what an indexer is. It basically stores additional information to serve requests more quickly. And in the case of tokens, we can get around this without an indexer. But for some things, we do need the indexer. As soon as stuff is not in the state anymore, if it's just in the ledger, like with CNFTs, then we're forced to have an indexer. We did talk about that a little in the video about CNFTs. This is where we really need an indexer. Because remember, a compressed NFT is literally just written in the ledger in an instruction to the no-op program. And then we require an indexer to read that and remember that. Because we can't look it up directly in the state because it's not in the state. We need an indexer to have that external database that contains the information. And that's the origin story of the digital asset standard. That's actually a Metaplex thing, the digital asset RPC infrastructure. And Metaplex runs an API and Helius runs an API on that. So they both have indexers that monitor the blockchain, and whenever a new CNFT is minted or a CNFT is transferred, they update their state in the indexer. So for that, we needed the indexers. That's why this thing was developed. Yeah, so this indexer for the CNFTs listens to all bubblegum transactions, parses them, and updates the state. We really need this indexer for CNFTs, but Helios was like, while we're indexing NFTs, might as well index all of the NFTs. So the digital asset standard, they actually support several types of assets, even inscriptions and SPL20, which we talked about a little bit in a previous video. And since recently, also any kind of token, like fungible tokens, non-NFT tokens, the SPL and token 2022 token. They are now all indexed by Helios. So whenever a token is transferred, Helios listens to that and updates their index. So yeah, I'd say we have a look at that. It provides a unified interface for interfacing with digital assets, such as tokens, NFTs, and so on. The API supports fungible tokens, regular NFTs, and compressed NFTs. And for compressed NFTs, they also provide, this proof, get asset proof, which we require to transfer CNFTs. So to conclude my motivation for why we want to use that, well, first of all, we need to use it if we want to work with CNFTs. Secondly, we don't want to abuse our RPC provider directly with a lot of calls on get program accounts or get tokens by owner or something. Working with the DAS API is just all in one place and much easier, as in quicker to retrieve. I've recommended this to people who work with NFTs. If the task is get all NFTs for a wallet, use DAS. Was? DAS API. It's funny because in German DAS is like the one of three. Anyway, languages. And now that they support fungible tokens as well, if you want to get all the assets for a user, it's super simple with a DAS API. You don't need to do several different things. Check all the token accounts, check all the inscriptions, and then maybe also make a DAS request for all the CNFTs. No, just do one request for all the assets, all in one place. That makes your developer experience much easier, and your RPC will also thank you if you don't spam them with a bunch of requests. Okay, motivation done. Let's get to it. Methods. Endpoints allow users to query both regular and compressed NFTs. And now fungible tokens. Fungible tokens support through get asset by owner and search assets. Off-chain indexing. This is also cool, because if you work just with the state of Solana, then once you have all the token accounts, you can check, well, is this an NFT? If it is an NFT, you have to check another account, the metadata account, what's written there to get the name and the symbol and the URI. And then you need to parse that URI to get to all the external metadata. And Helius does a bit of the off-chain indexing as well for you, such that they can provide additional metadata, such as the image or the attributes, which are stored in the external metadata, the JSON. And then they also put that data into their index, and you can query that all in one. Isn't that cool? It does this by indexing all the off-chain data. Please note that data mutations that happen off-chain cannot be detected by Helius. Yes, so obviously they just index it once, and if the external metadata changes, then that data might be inaccurate. And that is one of the disadvantages of indexers. They are doing their best to keep their state as up-to-date as possible, but it's still just an index and not the actual state that we're working with. So it can happen that the data they are serving is a little bit behind or fully out of date. Side note, that happens with any RPC as well, that they serve data that might be a little late. Since Helius does RPCs, they are quite close to the source for the state changes, and their indexers will be probably as fast as the RPCs. So I don't think that you need to worry much there. And we can have a look at that, how quickly they update their index. So I don't think that we need to worry about that much. Just note that those external indexes for the off-chain indexing, that can be out of date. So if you know that that changes for collections, then you might want to query that again. Okay, so let's have a look at the methods provided by the DAS API. Starting with the simplest one, get asset. Get an asset by its ID. So this can be a CNFT, an NFT, an inscription, a fungible token. And in general, the way this works, it's via HTTP request. So we send a post request to RPC Helius.xyz with our API key, which we'll get from here. And the body of our request contains the following. So that's the schema, a version, the ID that we request, and the name of the method that we invoke, and the parameters. Hold on, that's the ID of the asset. That's the ID to identify the request. Okay, we'll see what that is. And some options. For instance, okay, I can put anything in here, I guess. And that would then be the NFT mint, for instance, or the asset ID for the CNFT, because CNFTs don't have mints, but they have asset IDs. So yeah, let's try this. We don't need any Solana specific stuff for this, because again, it's all just HTTP. We just need a fetch. We can get that from Node directly. So yes, let's fetch. Let's fetch. And before we can do that, we need an API key. So we're gonna go to Helius. In the free plan, we have 1 million credits with 25 RPC requests per second. So for a free RPC, that's pretty good. And I think one request to the DAS API is also just 1 credit. I showed you my old key. I'm gonna delete that. We're just gonna generate a new key. There we go. Gonna save it in a separate file. Not the cleanest way to do it, but at least I don't show you my API key all the time, which I don't really care about because it's a free one anyway, but I don't want to teach you to do those things. You should keep those API keys secret and not commit them to your Git or show them in your YouTube video, right? So good example we set. Let's go. So we have the fetch, that's a node thing. That should just work. And we're gonna query a madlad. Why the hell not? But while we query a madlad, might as well query one that I like. Not biased at all. So I'm gonna put the mint of my madlad here, and then I'm gonna just call this get asset, which logs me the response. So let's just have a look at what that result looks like. In the response body, there's a JSON, so we can pass that and then we get that as a result. So let's check this out. Let's get asset. Oh, that gives me a promise for any. Let's remove those and log the entire thing that we get back. So our body of the request looks like this. We get again the JSON RPC. That's the body of what we send. And then the response, if it's successful, it looks like this, for example. And the schema here, it tells me again the ID. If we do several requests, we can put an ID in such that we can map responses with requests. If we just do one, it really doesn't matter what the ID is. But yeah, that gives it back to us. The interface, so that's all in result. Yeah, and here with my ID and the JSON RPC, so that's just the version. And then the result. Sorry, wait, we are one step in here. This ID is again the ID of the asset, but we also get the ID back that we put in. That's this one. That's one level further out, not inside the result, but in the entire response. In the result, then there is the ID of the asset that we requested. So that's the mint of my madlad. It tells me the interface, so what type of asset it is. In this case, it's an NFT. More specifically, a PNFT, a programmable NFT, Metaplex standard. And the content, this is the parsed metadata. So we get the external JSON. We get some more details that we should probably, let me just stringify this again. First, from the JSON to the object and then stringify it again. Neatly formatted with 4 spaces. Yeah, there we go. Look at this again. We got in the result the content, the files as you would find it in the external metadata. Again, the URI for the image, and then there's another image. This one was the rug. The first one was the rug. This one is the rug, and this one is the actual madlad. Okay, cool. And they also include all the metadata with the attributes. Again, that is queried from the external metadata and put directly in the Helius index, such that we don't need to go ahead and query this thing. So fetch this JSON to also have all those traits, which if you're working with NFTs is very helpful. And then the description, which is also from external. The name and symbol that we find on-chain as well. So I'm assuming it takes the on-chain stuff. Yeah, token standard, PNFT. Then it specifically returns links once more. So for the image link and for the external URI, if there was an external URI provided in the external metadata, and the image also from the external metadata just passed probably the first file then. Yeah, and then some more interesting stuff from the on-chain side again, like the update authority. If it's compressed, it's not compressed, so all of the rest is not important for that one. But if it was a CNFT, then we would have the data here. Grouping, that contains the collection information. Which kind of grouping is it? It's a collection, and that's the madlad's collection. Remember this, we might query all of the madlads next. Then infos on royalty, which you can also, find on chain, passes it neatly in %, the creator array. And then this is also interesting. The owner who owns this, it's not frozen, it is delegated. What does that mean? Maybe because I staked it. Is that the stake account? And that's the owner. Yeah, that's my address. I'm the owner, the X93, that's me, my wallet. And the delegate, that could be the staking program. Program account, and the owner is this one, and this one is the staking program. Yeah, that's the staking program. I know this from my one project that I did, where I involved some madlads and staking and stuff. Cool. So we can even see that this is currently staked, it's mutable, and it's not burned. Nice. So yeah, here again, we looked at it with the actual data now, but here, if you're just interested in the schema, that's what it looks like. Token info, we would get back if we would query a token. Actually, maybe we want to do that next. Let's query a token. One of the well-known ones. If I, instead of my Madlet mint, put the USDC mint here, and just for fun, just so you see USDC ID, if I put that here, then if I query that, then I also get USDC ID back, just so it, you know, it always matches the ID. That might be useful for some things. So what do we get back here? Similar thing, but here it says fungible asset. So that's a regular token. So metadata is also returned, USDC. Then we get the authority. It's not compressed. There's no grouping. There's no collection or anything. No royalty. And the owner. What's that? What's the owner of a token? The authority. I know what it is, but what's the owner? I have to look into what that means. Maybe that. So that just looks like one of the owners. That's weird why it would give me one of the owners. Burned is true. I mean, some tokens might have been burnt. I'm sure somebody burned some USDC just for fun. I mean, this was lined out for NFTs. That was built for NFTs. And now we put fungible tokens in there as well, which, by the way, is just in beta. Helius has extended DAS API to support all tokens. And we've even included token prices in USDC. Wow. Yeah, anyway, the important information in my eyes is the metadata and the decimals, which I'm sure I find somewhere. It has 6 decimals. No, I don't find that here. So that means I'm doing something wrong because it treats it as an NFT. It treats this as if it was an NFT. That's why it just takes one owner. Ownership model single. That's just not true. So I think if I work with fungible tokens, I need to put some other parameters. To enable this feature, set the show fungible flag to true. Display options, show fungible. That's what I need. I just add those display options for show fungible. Then that's gonna look different. I mean, that's still the same, but at least it now includes the token info, which is the thing for fungibles. Yes, and their symbol and decimals. Decimals, that's one of the important things that we otherwise would need to query the mint account for, but we don't want to fetch from the RPC. I mean, we could go with RPC, get account info on the token mint, and then pass the correct part of that account. But it's much easier if we just get it returned in JSON format and we can just read that. Much nicer dev experience. So yeah, price per token, 1 USDC. That's the only very stable one. Cool. Oh yeah, and here we also get the token program. That's important. Which kind of token program it is. That's the old one, the token keg. So yeah, that's cool. You can also check out inscriptions by showing this inscription, but I'm not a fan of that. So let's continue from get asset. Oh, get asset batch. What's that? Get multiple assets. Up to 1,000 IDs. Method get assets batch and then provide IDs. Instead of one ID, we provide IDs. And here we can have several. So let's get USDC and my Madlet at the same time. Now we get both of the things in the result. Fungible asset for USDC. Then the next one is a programmable. So essentially we just get several. And if I would put more IDs, I would get more assets back. Pretty self-explanatory. Get asset proof is then for CNFTs. Then we get to the more interesting things, like get assets by owner. This is now the use case that we talked about in the beginning. I want all the tokens for one particular wallet. One address, that is the owner, give me all they got. This method is the fastest way to return all assets belonging to a wallet. Yes, because it's indexed, because it's from an index. And we just post the get assets by owner, so it's gonna look similar. Method name, we just put get assets by owner. And then the parameter, the owner address, of course, which one we want to query. There will be pagination because they can have, one owner can have a lot of NFTs. And then we can do like sort by or the cursor for the pagination. And again, we have display options like the show fungibles and show inscriptions, if we also want inscriptions and fungible tokens. and show collection metadata. Those flags are helpful because maybe we're just interested in the tokens. Maybe we don't need the collection information. And then it's useless that it always puts that collection information into the response as well, because that just blows up the JSON. So it needs to transmit more data and we need to pass more and everything. So the smaller we can make our request, the better. So the more we can configure, the better for us devs. And then a successful response will look like this. It will give me the assets. It tells me the total number of assets it found, pagination information, and then the actual items, which again, interface with type, the ID, and then the same as above with the get assets. Burn, and it's mutable, the token info for token accounts. Mint extensions, if it's a token 2022 token, that could also be interesting. Which of those extensions have been enabled? Oh, that's cool. And then if I have the transfer hook, who is the authority and what's the program ID? So super nice that Helius indexes all of this. This is really cool. Yeah, so let's get all assets for a specific owner. Again, it looks pretty much the exact same as before, just that we change the method and the parameters. So we get assets by owner. Pagination starts at 1. That's important to note. There is no page 0, and we'll have a limit of 1,000 elements. So if a wallet contains more than 1,000 tokens, assets, let's call them assets, more than 1,000 assets, then it will just return the first 1,000 and give me some pagination info. Okay, so this owner, random address. Let's see what this guy has in their assets. Get assets by owner. Oh yeah, the same, this result, you don't like it as any. That will fix it. TypeScript is so fun. Anyway, what did we get? So yeah, a bunch of stuff. Always, this is the owner. I mean, makes sense because we queried for that owner. Oh, and then I have tree information. This stuff seems to be a compressed NFT. What do we have here? A V1 NFT with compression true. Tracking sol NFTs on tensor.json. I get so much spam. Track holders of NFT collection JSON. So much spam. But I also have legit CNFTs in here. Yeah, anyway, at the top of all of that, oh, I can't even get to the top of all of that. So when we have a look at the entire thing, we see we have 26 assets in total. We're on page 1, limit is 1,000, so this is the last page. We see we have a few regular NFTs, a few PNFTs. Some of them might be compressed, and we don't have any fungible tokens because we're not querying for fungible tokens, actually. If we were also querying for fungible, like show fungible, then we would also get fungible assets for all my tokens, and then the total would be 53. Okay. Cool. So yeah, but most of that is just spam. And now if I want to get out some interesting data of here, I could map it to my own format. Let's map this actually to an interface where I'm just interested in the name, if it's compressed, in the image. Let's say I'm just interested in those things. Then I could go ahead and map my items. I'll put my terminal here for a second so I can see this side by side. If we have a name, it's in content metadata name. So I'm always checking if it's present. If there is a compression, check that. If there is a content metadata, get me that. And the image, content links image. Let's see. I printed it one more time without the items now. I removed them just for this print, so I get that. And this is now in my format. Cool. So I have the name, if it's present, what type it is, if it's compressed, and the image. SMB Gen 3 is on NFT storage, really? Bonk earn, fungible asset, not compressed. Oh, what I'm missing, of course, is the ID. Totally want to print the ID as well. We've got a barrel, and here we've got an SMB. Let's check that out. Heh, heh, heh. Nice monkey. So yeah, that works quite well. Faceless, that's the one that I was looking for. This guy is a compressed NFT. So first in the list, let's print that in full. So for this item, now I'm printing everything again, not just the parts that I was interested in. That's a compressed NFT now. Again, we have the files, we have the metadata, and then the compression. That's now all the relevant stuff: data hash, creator hash, asset hash, which tree it's stored in, which leaf it is. And then using this ID, we could also generate the proof for moving it with the get asset proof. Yeah, so that's a compressed NFT. Yeah, so we see we can get all of the assets for a given address. Let's say this address had too many assets. I think 1,000 is the limit. For demo purposes, let's say 10 was the limit. Let's pretend 10 is 1,000, just so we see how we can work with pagination. If we say 10 should be the limit to be returned, then we get a total of 10, but the limit was 10. So we can now check if the limit is the total, then add some pagination. Do you do examples with pagination? So how do you do it? You stop when you get 0. I mean, I would do it like this. I would say I start with page 1 and I do all of this stuff while we get a result. Let result as well. Let's just do a fine. Let's do a while true. Fine. Not the cleanest, but will work. Anyway, so we then just break out if we're done. So if my result total is not my result limit, then we break. But this could result in an infinite loop, which is why I don't particularly like that. So I should totally at least check that my result is larger than 0. So the total must be bigger than 0. Because if we don't get a total, like if there's no result, for instance, then undefined equals undefined. So this is false. So we would stay in an in-def loop. So we don't want that. So I want to have that check. And otherwise, if we stay in there, we increase the page. And then of course we need to add the page in my request. So page will be page. Boom. And then let's just print the pagination stuff without the assets. That would then look like this. We should do now 5 requests or something. There we go. 6 requests because we have 50 something items. That's how pagination works. So you just want to do some loop for when the limit is reached, and you can set the limit up to 1,000. Set the limit to 1,000. But if there are more than 1,000 items, then you just continue until the total is not the limit, or the way they do it, you do one more, and if the length equals 0, then you break out. That's the simple way. But if I would do it like that, let's also showcase that, then I would do one extra request that I don't need to do. See this last one with 0. I could have saved that and saved my credits. Speaking of, I've used 40 credits and I did a bunch of requests. So I'm assuming that each DAS request is 1 credit. I can check that by getting my asset once. Yeah, there you go. 41. Get my asset twice. And one more time for the 42. Yeah. So it's 1 credit per DAS API request. Cool. Now we looked at pagination. Page-based pagination is not recommended for large data set. T-set pagination is far better suited. Okay, so there's a different way to get better, more efficient querying, either with a cursor, such that the result has a cursor, so the result points to the next thing. That would work. Or a range-based thing where you use the before and after. But yeah, that's advanced topics. If you're querying a lot of stuff, you might want to look into that. But I want to keep looking at the other types of queries that we can do. We've now seen the get assets by owner. Let's see what get assets by authority does. So they also index it by authority to efficiently let you query that. In our example, the madlad there, it has an authority, the 2RTG. And we could query that to get essentially all the madlads. plus any other NFTs that the same authority holds. Try this out. Every time my TypeScript is too strict. So a bunch more items plus those that it printed. So those are all madlets. Could also check it for the monkey DAO. Put that as the update authority. Then I get, of course 900, because Pagination just allows 1,000. So we don't even know how much the total is unless we add our fun Pagination again. And don't forget to change the page, because otherwise you'll end up in an infinite loop. There we go, 900 more, 900 more, 900 more. That's actually a lot. So wait, I'm not gonna print them all, gonna count them all. Let's do that. We're getting all by this authority. That looks like both Gen 3 and Gen 2 are by this authority, and possibly all barrels as well, because this authority holds a bunch of assets, like a lot. That many that we shouldn't even do it with that sort of pagination anymore. Oh, no. You know what? I'm just being stupid and I forgot the most important thing of saying page plus one. I was constantly querying the same page. Okay, one more try. So 1,000, it's either 5. Yeah, okay. That's just all the monkeys, all the Gen 2 monkeys. They're on one authority. Makes more sense. If you have infinite loops, don't have infinite loops. If you have infinite loops, don't. Great advice, Andy. Well done. Okay, so that's how we can query all by one update authority, but really most of the time we want to query by one collection. We can also query by creator, which again is the same thing. We put a creator address and we can say that it must be a verified creator. Again, that's a Metaplex thing. But the really interesting part is with a get assets by group, because that's how we would query a collection. So get asset by group. For instance, the group key would be a collection, and then we can query all madlets like this. Hey, there it does it like that the total doesn't equal 1,000. So we do a get assets by group, the method, and collection, and this madlets collection. We just push them to a list. Who developed this? Why do you set page to false? What do we do while page? Okay. Classic TypeScript, but we have a number here. Well, then I set page to 0 because I can't be bothered to have the right types here. I could, of course, build the types properly. And if I would build an application that actually uses this, I would probably build types that use, exactly this schema. But right now I'm too lazy and I just use any. So anyway, get assets by group. Let's go. There we go. It should be 10K. So 10 requests. There we have all the items, and they're all programmable NFTs, and we see here all the madlets sorted by ID apparently. Cool. And if you've learned anything about base 58, then we see that this is actually a quite high one, so it's sorted descending in ID. So that's how you get all of the items for a collection. Again, could do the same with the monkey collection address. And to show you let's print the last one. There we go. So this should now be just 5 requests for the 5K monkeys. There we go. 8 more. Here we all have the age. And the last one, the ID is something with A probably. Oh no, with 1. Yeah, because 1 is the smallest. There we go. There you have it. That's the lowest monkey ID that there is. Cool. That's how we query NFTs per collection. Now to the most helpful, useful, complex thing. Because for now, those things are nice, right? But then you want to have more flexibility in the assets that you query. And for that, you want to use the search. Because that way you can combine stuff like getting all for one owner of one collection. That kind of thing. Which makes our life easier. The life of the indexer may be a bit harder, but they support it, so we can use it. So let's use it. Here, for instance, it queries all of Toli's drip NFTs. We query by one owner address, and we have a grouping of the collection with drip. We can have several things like that. Or we could get all of the compressed NFTs from a wallet. Or we could get all of the fungible tokens, so all of the normal non-NFT assets. And we can then even include in the display, in the data that we get returned, the native balance with Lampert's price, total price, same with inscriptions. If token type field is set to fungible or all the following filters can't be used. Obviously, those are not available for fungible tokens. Can't search for both fungible tokens and then have creator addresses or collections or whatever. But we can have two separate requests. Let's start with this. The only NFT collection where I have more than one is Kleinos. That's my wallet. So we could, for instance, query all of the NFTs from this collection and this owner. Let's do it. This owner, this collection. Let's see what that returns. Search. Every time. Boom. There we go. Yes, yes, yes. I have 3 Kleinos. Woohoo! I love this. Yeah, once again, I could, get them in a format that I like better. So I just get all the items. I map those items into my format and then I log this. And that will then just give me the data that I want. So those are my 3 Kleinos. I have 1472, 7995, and 474. And they look like this. That's my herd. They're so nice Kleinos. This one, I wish I could add this one to my herd. Anyway, that's not the topic of today's video. So that's how you can easily query NFTs per owner, per collection, which is a use case that happens quite often, at least for me, at least when I build a wallet right now. Cool. Few more things. If we now want to filter, for instance, just regular tokens, non-NFTs, we could also do that with the search assets. We just say token type fungible. We literally just have token type fungible, and I think I need to write it like this because otherwise that will be weird. Yeah, let's see what my wallet has in fungible assets. Probably some people send me some spam stuff to there, so there we go. Got a bunch. But do I want to know what those are? Probably not. Oh, and there we get a cursor. That's nice. That's better than the pagination. Then I can even say display options, show native balance to check if any of that stuff is any valuable. So, oh no, we just get it once. Oh wait, native balance as in how much SOL. The native balance is the amount of Lamperts in that account. So for that account, what is the amount of Lamperts? And what is the current price per SOL? And then what is the total? Okay, so that's how many Lamperts I have. So that's 1 SOL approximately. Price is $62 at the moment, and the total price is therefore $62 because I have 1 SOL conveniently. Let's check if that's true. Does my wallet actually hold 1 SOL exactly? Yeah. Okay, good. And there are my Kleinos. So that's the native balance. But we heard that we get also the prices for the actual tokens. So that information is probably somewhere in there in the token info maybe. So let's expand that a bit. Token info. So we have the balance, the supply, the decimals, the token program, associated token address. And probably none of my tokens actually have a value. Otherwise we would also get the... No, here we have. There actually is some price info. Because this thing is apparently worth something. Not very much per token, but in total, hey, still 4 cents. Wherever I got those 4 cents in GM coins, great. But yeah, so the price info for the fungible assets is also in there in the token info. So I could now manually filter by that. Why would I manually filter if I can let the indexer do it? Sort by grouping, that's all NFT stuff, NFT stuff, NFT stuff, display options and token type. So yeah, it's not, we'll make the request slower. Just for fun, let's try it out. So what's the grand total? What does that do? Or maybe how many there are in total without pagination. That would make sense. If I would put lol, a limit of 3. Would give me 3, limit 3. If I limit it to 3, then it's also still matched like that. There we go. So that's what the grand total is. The total that is returned is 1,000 because my limit was 1,000, but the grand total is almost 5K. And the request is slower because it needs to search for all of them such that it can count the grand total. That's why it's slower. Yeah. Okay. So now we also figured out what that does. Cool. I got distracted. What was I looking for? Yeah, I can only search by token type. Okay, so it seems like I can't really search much, but at least I can retrieve all of the tokens, token 2022 and token KEK tokens with this API. And then I just manually filter the way I want to filter. For instance, I could say, I'm only interested in assets that have a price. So only if there's a token info, price info. Price per token. Let's check what valuable stuff I have in here. So most of the tokens have undefined, undefined, undefined. This GM one is worth something. Yeah, that's about it. So if I wanted to get rid of the undefineds as well, I would now just also filter this item total. So only if it's worth something. Then I get, okay, in this wallet, I only have this GM token that is worth 4 cents. Cool. I can check my other wallet. Maybe I have some valuable tokens in here. Oh yeah, cool. Here I have more COPE, for instance. 30 cents of COPE, 33 cents of MRC, $2.8 in Blaze. Nice. Oh, almost $40 in Burn. Nice. Some Fast Dust, and S-Bonk 10 cents. Yeah, I mean, though, some of the spam tokens are actually worth something. And using the Helius DAS API, I can easily query which ones are worth something in one API request. Cool, right? I think that's pretty cool. Like, as a dev, you can do a lot of stuff with that. That's pretty fun stuff. So I like this. One last thing that I want to do. Just real quick. Solana, keygen, grind. What's cool? Das Dua. And then we put Das Dua in here as well. And just to check, if I search for my fungible assets, I don't have any. I just get my Lampert's 61 cents. We don't need that though. Can remove that. So there we go. No items. Let's mint the token. With the token program, I want a closable mint because I want my money back. Mint close authority. Enable close. That's what I need. Okay. Creating token. Nice. That's a nice token. But now I just created that token. That doesn't mean that I actually own any. This will still be nothing. And now the question is, does owning tokens appear when I create a token account or when I mint into the token account? Because I think zero balances, I would expect that the API also returns. So let's see how quick that is. Let's create account for this token. Creating account. Boom, boom. Not here yet. Not here yet. Maybe it won't show up if I don't have any actual tokens. Doesn't look like that will ever. SPL token accounts. Yeah, I have 0, but I have some. Okay. Das doesn't care. Doesn't care. So, but what if I SPL token mint some of those tokens? I don't know. For the due. Minting. If I now query my assets, what? It's already here. That's fast. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have expected that to be yeah, I can't even talk anymore. That's fast. Like, sent it, got the confirmation, and the DAS API also updated. So they're on point. They're like, you can trust them as much as an RPC, I would say. Like, that was fast. You know, balance, there you go, 9 decimals. So that means 42 tokens. That's my associated token account. As we saw, that's the token program. So we learned it doesn't show up if you have 0 tokens. If you just have an empty token account, doesn't show up. But as soon as you have assets, I mean, kind of makes sense. If you have 0, then why would you, whatever. But yeah, we see the mint extensions. We have a mint close authority extension, and I am the close authority. Amazing. I own this token. Ownership model is token, so not single, but token. Nice stuff. It's not compressed. And yeah, fungible asset. Pretty nice. I like this. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. All right, but I think that's enough. I think we did enough requests. I'm also gonna delete this key just so you're not even tempted to try and steal it from me. Yeah, I hope that this video was helpful. Deep dive into the Digital Asset Standard API by Helius. Pretty cool stuff that you can do with it. Like, that definitely makes Solana development a lot easier if you use that as compared to querying the Solana state with RPC requests. Good stuff. Can recommend. I would say just play around with it yourself. We went through most of the use cases. You might do some custom filtering yourself if the API doesn't support it, but the API is quite fast, so you can pump a lot of requests and then just filter them manually in your front end. Yeah, definitely more efficient than going via state. And yeah, Helius has some more cool stuff. They have webhooks and WebSockets. Maybe that could be an interesting future video. Let me know in the comments if you want to see that, because with those you could get updates when something changes. You don't need to poll, but you can get updates as well. So that might be something that we're gonna look at in a future video. Till then, make sure you're subscribed, like the video, watch some others, and I will see you in the next video where we're gonna go through some more developer tooling. Till then, bye bye.